over to Matan.
Okay, shalom everyone. Thank you for coming. I want to try connect shortly between Masechet Ta'anit. That's the Masechet we're going to try finish today. By the way, there's some papers on the beginning of every table of just the actual Siyum if you want to follow along. So between Masechet Ta'anit, the Chafetz Chaim, and the rebellion of Ghetto Warsaw. There's a better word for Mered, right? Uprising of Ghetto Warsaw. Okay, so Masechet Ta'anit. First of all, the last two discussions in Masechet Ta'anit. The first one talks about the 15th day of Av, Tu B'Av. That's a holiday. All the last 3 pages of Masechet Ta'anit basically speaks about 15 of Av, and it gives us details about what exactly happens there. So basically what happened is that all the single girls of the Israelites are going to the fields and dancing over there in a purpose of getting themselves a shidduch. And each one of them said whatever they can say to convince someone to get married with them. So the Gemara said, whoever was beautiful says, "Oh, look on the beauty of the woman, so you can find me also." Whoever has a good shidduch, a good family, a good yichus says, "Look at the family because this is what's important." And Nebech, whoever didn't have either this or that, says, "Do it l'shem shamayim." Just find someone, because the purpose is to get married, and this is something we do as a Jews. And that's the conclusion of all the stories about Tu B'Av. Now, weirdly, the Gemara chooses to go to other direction, and suddenly bring us a story about all the tzaddikim that sits in heaven. And it says in the last 3 lines of the Gemara, if you want to see it, says Rabbi Elazar, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is, in the future, he's going to do machol la-tzadikim. Machol as in dancing maybe. That's maybe the connection also to Tu B'Av, but we'll try to understand it better. Or a circle, la-tzadikim. And he sits among them in heaven. And each one of them shows with his finger on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is what Tosfot says. Point on Hashem. And says, This is our Hashem. We hope for him. And he is going to redeem us. And now the question is, what's the connection between these two? Why to bring us that story about the tzaddikim in heaven? It's kind of like, what's the connection? So for that, I want to give you a short story from the Chafetz Chaim, Rabbi Israel Meir Cohen Miradin. He lived at Lita a little more than 100 years ago. And one day, one person approached to him in the yeshiva he learned, and he told him, "I'm a Haredic doctor. I live in Germany. And I heard about all the yeshiva in Lita, all the yeshivot, about how they learn the Torah, and I wanted to see that. So I found myself a replacement for 1 week. I bought a ticket. I came to Lita, and I saw all the beautiful yeshivot of Mir and Radin and Ponovich and all this stuff. And suddenly I felt very weak. I felt like maybe I'm doing something wrong because, well, I live in Germany. I'm a doctor. I'm very, I'm learning Torah here and there, but I'm not doing it for all of the day. I'm not doing it every time that I can. And here I see so many bachurim that sit and day and night just learn Torah. So I'm a little bit afraid of my next world, of my olam haba. Maybe I'm in a bad place. So the Chafetz Chaim tells him, you know what? There's even a chance that you and me will sit next to each other in the next world. Who knows? And that's sort of kind of hard to believe. Chafetz Chaim, he wrote so many books. He's such a big Talmid Chacham. What do you mean we're going to sit next to each other? And the Chafetz Chaim tells him exactly the end of Masechet Ta'anit. And he said, the end of Masechet Ta'anit teaches us that each one of us have different directions in life. And that's fine. Each one of us have different path in life. Some of the girls said, okay, we are beautiful, right? This is why you should marry us. Some of the girls says, we have good family. This is why you should marry us. Some of the girls says, just l'shem shamayim. Just because you need to marry us. Each one of us have different t'naim, different situation we born to. And each one of us act in different way in order to work Hashem in this world. And so as that, the tzaddikim in the next world, they sit around the Kadosh Baruch Hu, and everyone pointing, this is Hashem we hope to. This is Hashem that's going to redeem us. As long as you do the effort, as long as you're trying to connect to Hashem, as long as you try to do your best where you are, so who knows, maybe you're going to find yourself next to me in the next world. And I think it's connected beautifully also to Merod Ghetto Varsha, the rebellion of Ghetto Varsha, which happened exactly today, 80 years ago. This is why I'm bringing it up. It happened in Erev Pesach, 80 years ago. Even though we know, I mean, the Mered Ghetto Varsha, eventually a lot of people died. They didn't won the rebellion. They didn't survive. The majority of them didn't survive to see how the Jews eventually end up the war and going back to Israel. But they did the effort. And the state of Israel appreciated their effort so much that they decided when gonna be the day that we commemorate the Holocaust, not like the all of the world, which happens earlier this year. We're gonna commemorate that right after Pesach in honor of the one who tried to rebel in Mered Ghetto Varsha. Again, that small effort of trying to do something in the place that you are. And last story about Masechet Ta'anit. That's the Masechet we're going to finish. So I started Masechet Ta'anit exactly a month ago, right after Purim. Masechet Ta'anit have 31 pages. So you just need to learn one daf a day, and you finish Masechet Ta'anit. Now, I read a story online on a rabbi from Ramat Gan that someone came and invited him to Siyum Masechet Ta'anit, exactly like the one we're finishing, and he said, okay, okay, you're finishing Masechet Ta'anit, what's the big deal? Like, how long it took you to learn Masechet Ta'anit? And they told that rabbi, it took us 7 years. And they're like, 7 years to learn Masechet Ta'anit? I mean, instead of celebration, maybe you should fast, because like that's not the time you should learn 30 pages of Gemara. And he's like, try to understand what's the big deal. And then they told him, you know what? We learned it every Shabbat morning for 10 minutes after davening. This is why it took us 7 years, because we learned very slowly. And suddenly, all the point of view of that rabbi was like, oh, okay. So it's all like, these people, instead of like rushing home right after Shabbat morning davening, they stayed for 10 minutes every time. 10 minutes just to learn something small. Yeah, so it take you 7 years to learn 30 pages of Gemara, but that's the effort they did. And I think it doesn't really matter if you learn Masechet Ta'anit in 7 years or in 1 month, or if you're just hearing the Siyum itself, as long as you do the effort, as long as you find something small to add to yourself, to try to tell to Hashem, yeah, I'm trying to connect to you. Maybe there's a promise here from Masechet Ta'anit that eventually we're all going to find ourselves in heaven, maybe next to the Chafetz Chaim, maybe next to other big Talmidei Chachamim, and point to Hashem and said, this is Hashem Kivinu Lo, this is the hope that we tried to work you and we tried to do everything for you, Hashem. And Be'ezrat Hashem, I hope you all going to have the merit to do it around our Seder table in Pesach. So that's the end of Masechet Ta'anit. We're going to say the Siyum right now itself. Again, it's the end of the papers that you have in your tables. Adran alach b'shlosha prakim, uslik ala Masechet Ta'anit. Adran alach Masechet Ta'anit v'ada chalan, da'atan alach Masechet Ta'anit v'da'ata chalan, לא ניתנה שמינך מסכת עני ולא תיתנה שמינן לא בעלמא הדין ולא בעלמא דעתי. אדרן הלך מסכת עני ודעתה חלן, דעתן הלך מסכת עני ודעתה חלן, לא ניתנה שמינך מסכת עני ולא תיתנה שמינן לא בעלמא הדין ולא בעלמא דעתי. אדרן הלך מסכת עני ודעתה חלן, דעתן הלך מסכת עני ודעתה חלן, לא ניתנה שמינך מסכת עני ולא תיתנה שמינן לא בעלמא הדין ולא בעלמא דעתי. יהי רצון לפניך אדוני אלוהינו ולאבותינו שטובתך ומנותנו בעולם הזה, ותהיה עמנו לעולם הבא. חנינא בר פפא, רמי בר פפא, נחמן בר פפא, אחי בר פפא, אבא מרי בר פפא, רפרם בר פפא, רכיש בר פפא, סוחה בר פפא, עדה בר פפא, דרו בר פפא. הערב נא אדוני אלוהינו דבר תורתך בפינו ובפיות עמך בית ישראל, ונהיה אנחנו כולנו, אנחנו וצאצאינו וצאצאי עמך בית ישראל כולנו, יודעי שמך ולומדי תורתך, מאויבי תחכמני מצוותיך כי לעולם היא לי, יהי ליבי תמים בחוקיך למען לא אבוש, לעולם לא אשכח פקודיך כי בם חייתני, ברוך אתה אדוני למדני חוקיך, אמן 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 סלע ועד. מודים אנחנו לפניך אדוני אלוהינו ולאבותינו ששמת חלקנו מיושבי בית המדרש ולא שמת חלקנו מיושבי קרנות, שאנו משכימים והם משכימים, אנו משכימים לדברי תורה והם משכימים לדברים בטלים, אנו עמלים והם עמלים, אנו עמלים ומקבלים שכר והם עמלים ואינם מקבלים שכר, אנו רצים והם רצים, אנו רצים לך עולם הבא והם רצים לבאר שחת, שנאמר ואתה אלוהים תורידם לבאר שחת, אנשי דמים ומרבה ליוחצו מהם ואני אבטח בך. יהי רצון לפניך אדוני אלוהי כשם שעזרתני לסיים מסכת תענית כדי לעזרני להתחיל מסכתות וספרים אחרים ולסיימם, ללמוד וללמד, לשמור ולעשות ולקיים כל דברי תלמוד תורתך באהבה, וזכות כל התנאים והאמוראים ותלמידי חכמים יעמוד לי ולזרעי שלתמוש התורה מפי ומפי זרעי וזרע זרעי עד עולם, ותתקיים בי ותלכך תנחה אותך ושכבך תשמור עליך והקצות היית תשיחך, כי הביא ירבו ימיך ויוסיפו לך שנות חיים. אורך ימים בימינה בשמאלה אושר וכבוד, אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. Please rise for Kaddish. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, לעלמד ועתיד להתחדתה ולחיה מטיה ולעסקה לחייל ולמבנה קרתד ירושלם ולשכלל לחלה וגבה ולמעקר פולחנה נוכרה מהרעה ולהטבע פולחנה לשמה לאתרי וימליך קודשא בריחו במלכותי ויקרא וחייכון ויעמיכון וחיית לכל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהא שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילם מכל ברכתה ושירתה ושבחתה ונקמתה דאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן על ישראל ועל רבנן ועל תלמידי תלמידו ועל כל מן דעסקים באורייתא דבעתרא הדין ודין בכל אתר ואתר יהיה להון ולכל שלמה רבה חינם וקליטה ורחמי וחיי יריחם ומזוני רוויחי ופורקנה מקדם ועונדי וישביה והרב אמרו אמן יהיה שלמה רבה משמיים וחיים טובים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן עושה שלום מרומיו ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן חג שמח everyone